So Joe Pass is without a doubt one of the greatest jazz guitar players of all time. And what's so impressive about his playing is his seemingly endless vocabulary. Whether it's comping, playing chord melodies, or single note lines, he never seems to run out of ideas, and he has the entire fretboard at his disposal. So in this lesson, we're going to look at 3 lines that demonstrate his ability to move effortlessly across the fretboard and how to connect the dots between different positions on the guitar. So this lesson is really a lesson for me because one of the things I tend to do is play things in one position. For instance, if I'm playing a 2-5-1 in the key of C, my tendency is to play that all in one position. Now, there's certainly nothing wrong with that, and it's important to be able to do that. But one of the things that's so exciting about Joe Pass's playing is his ability to break away from that and play things that span the entire fretboard. Something like this. So this line comes from a version of the tune Blue Bossa off of a duo record that Joe did with trombonist J.J. Johnson. And it's a 2-5-1 line that starts out by playing mostly down in one position, but then over the C major 7 chord does this beautiful stretch across the fretboard. And finally resolving to a whole different position of C major 7. Here's what the line sounds like slowed down. Alright, so this is a 2-5-1 line, and the underlying chords are D minor 7 to G7 to C major 7. And to start out over this D minor 7 chord, we're outlining an F major 7 arpeggio. Right, and this is a common chord substitution for a D minor 7. F major 7 is the upper structure 7th chord made out of the flat 3, the 5, the flat 7, and the 9 of a D minor 9 chord. Right, so we're starting out by playing the 9th to the flat 3rd, and then up the octave to the 9th here, the note E. And then we do this little descending glissando down to the flat 7, and then right down an F major triad. That's the flat 7, 5th, and flat 3 of D minor. Then as the chord moves to G7, we're playing right up a G7 scale. That's the 5th, 6th, flat 7, and root of a G7 scale. And then here is where we switch to an altered dominant sound, where we're going to play the flat 9 up to the sharp 9, then down to the root, flat 7, flat 13, major 3rd, flat 9, and then a little chromatic enclosure here to the note G. And that is where we resolve to our C major 7 chord. So that G is the 5th of our C major 7 chord. So that whole thing tied together. Right, so that's all in this one position, but this is where it really gets interesting. This is where Joe breaks out of that position and uses this really nice way of extending the fretboard and getting up to a whole new spot on the neck. So over the C major 7 chord, he plays, right, this little movement that happens from the 9th to the root, the 6th to the 5th, and then the 9th to the root again. So this little repeating 2-note sequence. And then from here, he plays the flat 6 to the major 7th, which is really nice note choice. And then right down right out of this C major 7 position. So that's the 6th to the 5th to the 3rd to the root. So right there is that C major triad, and then down to the major 7th, and finally resolving on the 6th to give you that C major 6 sound, right? So all that tied together. So this is a great 2-5-1 line that can be used in a ton of different situations. Stick around to the end of this video and I'll demonstrate how I would use this line in a blues context. All right, this next line comes from a live version of the tune Ain't Misbehavin'. And this really shows Joe's ability to take one simple idea and expand it and stretch it out across the fretboard. All right, so this is another 2-5-1 line that uses that same F major 7 arpeggio over the D minor chord. But this stretches that arpeggio sound out across the neck. Here's how it is played slowed down. All right, so this lick starts out by literally outlining an F major 7 arpeggio. We're going to play the major 7th to the root to the 3rd to the 5th of F major 7. But this is happening over a D minor 7 chord, so it's important to see how these intervals relate back to D minor 7, right, the underlying chord. Basically, an F major 7 gives us a rootless D minor 9 sound. So we're going to start with the 9, then the flat 3, then the 5th, then the flat 7 of D minor 7 or D minor 9. From there, we're basically going to play a similar thing up the octave, except he only plays these 3 notes. So, but you could, in theory, take this same idea and stretch it out across the fretboard, right? Which is sort of what he's doing here, or what he's implying here. So F major 7, and then from here, sort of a classic little blues phrase to tie it all together. So a really great way of getting from one spot on the neck way up the neck in one fluid line that really takes a simple concept and expands it and stretches it up the fretboard. And really works nicely to outline this 2-5-1 chord sequence. All right, so this final lick is from the tune Meditation off the album Intercontinental. Now, if you're new to Joe Pass and you're looking for some albums to check out, I would strongly recommend the album Intercontinental. It's a beautiful sounding record. So this lick happens over a 3-6-2-5-1 chord progression, which is similar to the other licks, but with a little bit more extended chord sequence. Here's what it sounds like. All right, so this final lick falls over a 3-6-2-5-1 chord progression. So in C, that would be E minor 7 to A7, D minor 7, G7, and then to C. So similar chords in our 2-5-1s, but we're just adding this 3-6 on the front of it, which is a really common turnaround, played in a lot of standards, and can also be used in a jazz blues, which we'll get to later. But this lick starts out by sort of outlining a G major 7 arpeggio, which is very similar to what we were doing before with our F major 7 over the D minor, except now we're in E minor, so we're going to play up a whole step to G major 7. Right, so we're playing this kind of E minor 9 sound. right? So that is the 5th, flat 7th, 9th, then to the 4, flat 3 of E minor, and then sliding up to the 5th and flat 7. So all things that sort of outline this E minor sound. Right, and then from here, we're going to go up and play to outline the A7. We're going to sort of do a little enclosure to hit the flat 7, that note G, over this A7 chord. And then as it moves to D minor, we're going to move that note down a whole step to grab the minor third of our D minor chord. So again, you can kind of see there's an A7 chord with G on top, and there's a D minor chord with F on top, right? So these are the notes we're targeting to outline these chords. And then over this D minor 9, right, he plays this beautiful chromatic line with a lot of nice, beautiful notes in it. Right, which finally moves to G7 and then wraps up with this nice C major 7. Right, landing on the 6th again, which is kind of a common theme through some of these lines, is landing on the 6th over that C major chord to give this really pretty C major 6 sound. So here's this lick played slowed way down. So all of these licks we've discussed today came from jazz standards, right? Songs with unique arrangements and chord forms. But all of these licks can be taken and used in a simple 12-bar jazz blues, right? And so to tie all this together, I'm going to play a solo over a couple choruses of a jazz blues, and I'm going to use these licks we've discussed today in the different spots where they fit in the form. So as with all my lessons, the tabs and notation for this solo and all the lick examples will be available over on my Patreon page. The link is down in the description, and that is a great way to support this channel. Okay, check out this solo. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check down in the description for my links to my different courses, as well as my Patreon page, and subscribe to the channel if you like these videos. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, happy practicing.